I'm going to get to introduce myself. My name is Britani, and this is my classmate Esra. We are from South University. We are physical therapy assistant students. I'm also an employee here. And today we're talking about specific exercises that you can work into your daily routines, physical activity routines, to decrease your risk of falling. We're really focused on fall prevention. Any burning questions before we get started? There will be an interactive portion starting in the middle. What I've been telling people is all of the interactive movement is optional. I want you to do what feels safe for your body. So if at any time there's something that doesn't look like the best option for you, know that we're here to help, but you will never be forced to do any of the movements. Alright, so I'm going to be in and out of the closet for clicking at the beginning, and we're going to start us off.
Yes. Okay. Hi everyone. My name is Esra. I do not work here, but I'm Britani's classmate from South University. I'm very happy to be here with you guys today. I am an aspiring yoga instructor, massage therapist. I'd like to go into healing as my career progresses. And I'm very excited to be in the physical therapy field.
Well, we're glad you're here.
Thank you. Yes, I have a little bit of experience in the clinical settings of a couple skilled nursing facilities as well as Advent Health. And I recently found out I'm going to have another clinical coming up at the Florida Orthopedic Institute. So I'm very excited to get more experience.
And my name is Britani. So my role in this facility, I work as a personal trainer and a group fitness instructor. I have been here since July. In previous jobs, because I've worked in a gym setting for about 8 years now, I have taught fall prevention strengthening classes. I've been a part of senior fitness departments. I have taught balance workshops, yoga, general strengthening classes for all ages. And I used to work as a recreation leader in a skilled nursing facility. And then I also go to school for physical therapy. So these are just, if you're wondering who are they? Why should we believe them? These are your reasons why. These are our credentials. So Ezra's going to share a few statistics with you on why this is important to us before we get moving.
Yes, fall prevention is extremely important. They are the #1 cause of injury in adults age 65 and over. It would be wonderful if we could all learn about how we can lower those numbers as much as we can. Falls are also the leading cause of traumatic brain injuries in older adults. 1 in 10 falls result in an injury that causes the person to restrict their activities or seek medical attention. So if you have fallen a few times, we're really happy that you're okay, because there's always that 10% chance that it could land you with some medical bills and some injuries that we would love to avoid. Certain medications that we may be on have side effects. They could have side effects that affect your balance or certain systems of your body. Poor strength and balance are also among the causes of falls in older adults. So now we're going to talk about fitness programming as we get older. It's very important to have aerobic exercise as well as strength and resistance training. For aerobic exercise, it's a good goal to have 20 to 60 minutes a day. And this is probably about 3 days a week, whatever you can get in there. This includes walking, biking, you can have a stationary bike, swimming, water aerobics. One way that we can test the intensity of aerobic exercise is, for example, when we're working with patients, we can try to talk to them while they're doing their aerobic exercise. And depending on if they have a bit of a hard time talking, then we know kind of how hard they're working. We can gauge on if we need to make things more gentle or increase the pace a little bit. And as we increase the intensity of our exercises, we want to make the duration of those exercises less, and vice versa.
I'm going to touch on the talk test real quick. So when you are working out on your own, a really good gauge of the intensity that you're working out at is if you can say a few short sentences out loud, you are likely working at about a moderate intensity, which means your heart rate should feel slightly elevated, but you're still able to get those words out. You're not breathless. We want that as a bare minimum when you're doing that aerobic exercise. When you are working moderate, heavy, like a little more intense, but not completely breathless, you should still be able to say a few short words, even if they're separate and, have a breath or two in between. And so for most of your aerobic exercise, unless you're training for like a specific sport or an event, that moderate to moderate heavy range is where you want to be. So hopefully that helps you kind of gauge where you are when you're doing your cardiovascular or aerobic work out on your own.
All right, moving on to strength and resistance. These are the kinds of exercises we want to be doing about 2 times a week. When we're thinking about reps, we want to do 8 to 12. And we want to do about 8 to 10 different exercises targeting different large muscle groups in the body. This includes your chest, arms, core, back, legs. And what's very important when it comes to strength training is how this incorporates into your functionality. So any kind of functional training that you could do around your house, anything that's going to help you get your daily activities done, that's what we want to focus on. For about 2 days a week as well, we want to work on flexibility. None of us in here are trying to do any splits, but it is important to retain your flexibility as you get older. We want to avoid stiff joints. We want to get that joint fluid moving. We want to keep this to about a minimum of 10 minutes. Good things to keep in mind when we're talking about stretching is holding for about 60 seconds at a time. You could break this up into smaller pieces. Maybe you could just do a stretch for 30 seconds and come back up, do it again, do that a couple times. Some things that encourage these kinds of stretching are yoga, tai chi, Pilates. And something that is also important to include in your weekly routine is balance training. The Center for Disease Control does not give specific quantity recommendations of balance training, but we can combine balance with other exercises, both bilaterally and unilaterally, which just means we could use both sides of our bodies to balance, or we can use one side of our body to balance.
Okay, so now we're getting into our interactive portion. I'm going to flip on the lights just so that we're very well lit and can see our surroundings. Okay, so I apologize if you can't read the screen perfectly, but that's just to kind of help me stay on task. So I'm going to be leading us through some movements, and Esra is going to be demonstrating. Like I said, only do what feels safe for your body, but I do encourage you to try as much as you can so that if you choose to take this out into your daily workout routine or whatever you do for movement, you kind of have that like motor programming, that muscle memory of how this goes. So when we are training our bodies to be less likely to fall, one really important thing is how do we stand up from a chair properly, making sure that everything is balanced. We're not going to fall over as soon as we stand. So if you're able to scoot to the edge of your seat so that your feet can be flat on the floor, toes pointing straight ahead, the first thing we think about is sliding the feet under the body slightly, so the knees are a little more forward. And then you can rest your hands on your legs. This is really good when you're working at home or out on the floor. If you have something with handles as well, that's always an option. But we're going to have hands resting on something in case you need to do a little push. And then we're going to think nose over toes. So slightly forward, body's at an angle. You're going to push through your hands and your feet to stand all the way up, as long as it takes. Beautiful. And then we want to sit down with control. So you want to make sure you feel the back of the chair, or the front of the chair at the back of your legs, and then sit down nice and slow. I would say no plopping. Beautiful. So if we were working that into an exercise program for you to do X amount of days per week, you would want to do that about 10 times in a row and at least 2 sets, which means we would pause for about 60 seconds, take a rest, and then do another 10. So just to get that movement pattern into our body, we're not going to do multiple sets, but let's see how it feels to do at least 5 in a row. Any pace. Think about keeping the toes pointing straight ahead. Nice strong push into the heels. Does everyone feel safe doing this one? I know we don't have the handles. Yeah, we're good with this one?
Yeah.
Okay, good. I wanted to start off not scary. All right, so the next thing that is really important to practice is your ability to step up, step down, and walk with a curve. And so everyone should have a step nearby. Does anyone need help moving their steps so that you're able to walk on it? I can kind of change the angles for some of you. I'm going to turn this so you can face the front. Is this an okay spot for you? Okay. Good. And then actually, if you wanted to have your chair close by, something to hold on to, like an imaginary railing, that's an option. We love support. I scooch that for you. Good? Okay. So important things to think about with step training is you want to make sure your entire foot gets onto the step. That's the first thing. So you can start to lift your foot up. Like I said, you can hold onto your chair if you want it. But get the entire foot onto the step, toes pointing straight ahead. Good. And then we're going to think about pushing through the foot that's on the step more than the foot that's in the back. So you can have that slight lean in. You can push into the chair and then drive through the foot on the step to bring the next foot up.
Now remember with our sit to stand, we were leaning forward, getting your nose over your toes. That brings your whole center of gravity forward and can help you step up.
So if you want to step like a little closer to this side, and I put this here.
We could sit up better from this one because it's loose.
Absolutely, yeah. Whatever foot feels safer to start with, that's what we want. Now with the step down, I encourage you to have that railing if you used it before, and we want to think nice and slow. Just like with that sit to stand, we want a lot of control as we're moving with gravity. So whatever foot you feel safest moving back first, you're going to take that step down and then lower the other foot with control. So both feet land onto the wood floor. Nice. All right, so let's practice that one just a couple more times. Let's say at least 3 to 4. Whatever foot you feel best stepping up with, that's what we want. Really drive through the foot that's on the step and then control the lower down. Any speed that feels safe for you. We're not Jane Fonda. We're not doing aerobics today. How does this feel for everyone? Doable? Mm-hmm. Okay.
Vertical.
Mm-hmm. So if you need to sit at any time, you are absolutely welcome to do that. Yeah.
Not that everyone's strength to get up.
And that brings up a good point, because sometimes when we see people using support or like leaning onto the railing in public places, going through the community, like it might not be a strength thing. It might be a balance thing. It might be like a neurological thing, and that's okay. Just know that like if your body likes the support, use the support because you want to be safe in your daily activities. Okay, so we can go forward. Let's see how it feels to add a step down forward. So you're going to come all the way up, and then instead of stepping backwards, see how it feels to step forward off of the step. Yeah. It is hard.
You okay? Yeah, I'm okay. I'll see, I have one good knee and one bad knee.
So step down with the knee that needs a little extra love. And I'm actually going to move your railing for you. We want the good leg to stay on the step longer. And I like how you turn to that angle a little bit. So if that helps you, that is okay. We're like not going for perfection, we're going for functional movement that you can do while you're like going through your house, going through the community. Let's see how it feels to try that again. You can either face the wall or you can walk around and redo it. Yes! Sometimes you just gotta like, shake out the bugs. Look, all ages. Beneficial for all ages. Let's try it one more time. Step all the way up, all the way down. And of course, if you were catering this program, like if you were making, a strength or functional program for yourself to your individual needs, then you can start to play with changing the step height. So the higher your step, the more challenging it's going to be if you were going to carry this out into your real world routine. Another thing to think about is the ability to cope with a curve, I call it. So what I do with a lot of my clients is called a curve walk in Esra. I didn't show this one to you, so I'm going to demonstrate this one. So we are standing parallel to the step, and what I have people practice is stepping 1 foot up, all 10 toes point straight ahead. I'm going to drive through this leg, use my hand as needed, and then step forward and down, and then I can shuffle back and do it again. 1 foot up, still facing the side, step up. So I do have a moment in time where I am just on 1 foot. So really move that chair if you need it, if you choose to try it. Right here, I gotcha. And then forward. How do you feel? You did it.
I did it.
Then if you're feeling really fancy, you can step up and forward, and then keep the foot on the step up and back. Go back to your starting position. Only if it feels safe for you. That's your progression. Ezra, demonstrate it again for us. So up and forward, keep the foot on the step, and then push through the foot on the step and go backwards. So that's your progression if you need it a little more advanced.
Step forward. And leave this one up here. And step back.
Yeah, I'm going to come on this side of you.
Just step back.
Yeah, this one's definitely easier with a smaller step.
Yeah, it takes practice. But these are things that, if you have access to the equipment, whether you're a member here or somewhere else, these are things that you can practice on your own. Last thing we're going to do with this step is a lateral step. So you would start very similar, like off to the side, facing the side of the room. You're going to step both feet up and then cross both feet over laterally. Down, down. So it's up, up, down, down. Facing the side the whole time. This is good if you need to take a side step over an uneven surface. If for some reason it is safer for you to walk up and down the stairs sideways, or again, coping with a curve that's at a different angle.
This is fun. Sit on your butt. Sit on your butt to get down the stairs. That's what my sister-in-law has to do.
Whatever works for you.
She has a little thing. I'm not that bad yet. Hopefully I won't be.
And we practice this so that hopefully we don't get to that point.
Well, I think your classes here too. You're smarter than me, so I want to hear what you got to say.
How are we feeling with that one? That looks really good. I saw some increases in speed. We're getting comfortable.
I saw some people were looking up while they were doing this, not looking at their feet. That shows a good trust in your balance.
That's a really good point. That's a goal. Like, once you feel like you've got that movement pattern down, if you can do this while looking straight ahead, it's just better for like your mind-body connection, how you sense where your body's moving in space, strengthening all of that internal connection. The next movement we're going to do is called a wall push-up. So I'm not going to make you all get on the floor, but I am going to encourage you, if you're going to try this one, to come to the back or to the side where we have the bar. And you can join us if you want. Actually, Ezra, you go to that side, and I'll go here.
I want to move the camera.
You can push that to the side and all, you have space. Okay, so with the wall push-up, has everyone seen someone do a push-up on the floor? So that's what you want to visualize. You're going to have your hands on the bar, and then choose your own adventure here. The further you walk your feet back, the the more challenging it's going to be. So if you want less challenge, you're going to keep your feet closer to the wall. We're going to have about the middle of the palm resting on the bar, and then fingers can wrap around. You're going to lean into your hands, and we want the elbows to point diagonally down towards the floor. And I just emphasize that because we don't want the elbows to go wide the same height as the shoulders. Able to see? I can walk around too. So elbows are mostly pointing to the floor. If they come out a little wider, that's okay, but not shoulder height. Nice! And then you can start your however many repetitions you want to do. 10 is usually a good rule of thumb. Nice. And so important things to think about with this one is keeping your hips in line with your back. We don't want to start to like crease at the front or the back of the hips. It is okay if your heels lift off of the floor, but keeping your toes in contact with the floor. Nice, my friend. That's good. He's like, I don't know you. Let's try about 4 to 5 more repetitions. Yes. So making sure the lower back doesn't dip down and forward. So this, I know not everyone has a bar or a railing in their house, but if you have a countertop in your kitchen, this is how you can apply this at home. Personally, when I'm cooking, when I'm waiting for water to boil, you just crank out a few push-ups on the counter. Look, it's time efficient. You don't even have to you don't have to make time for that. All right, you're welcome to return to your station. The next one, we're not gonna practice all together because we're not gonna get out the weights, but if you were practicing a fitness program on your own, this is called a farmer carry. If you hold one weight in each hand and you just walk in a straight line, that will test your balance. We are gonna do some walking stuff, so don't worry, we're not done with moving. But that is gonna test your balance because you have to engage your core to keep yourself from leaning to one side or the other. You have to be able to make sure your feet go straight ahead. And everything walking that we're about to show you, you can add weights to like a farmer carry as well. So, getting into a little more balance. This is called a Romberg stance or a narrow stance. A lot of times when we're training balance, we want to be able to hold something like start with a minimum of 10 seconds going static, and then 15 seconds, and then just kind of increase by 5. So I encourage you to stand next to your chair. You can have that touch point for support if you need it. But something we want to practice here is the ability to stand with our feet nice and close. Anytime we narrow our base of support, it is going to be more challenging for our nervous system to kind of stay calibrated. So see if you can do this with just one hand. And then if that feels safe, see if you can do it with just one finger on the chair. And if that feels safe, see if you can do it. I call it, look mom, no hands. We just do hands at our side. And if that's still not challenging enough, close one eye or close both eyes. Like I said, only do what feels safe for you today because I'm not right next to you. But these are applicable at home too. You can practice this, next to whatever support or counter you have. And like I said, starting with about 10 seconds at a time, and if you're like, ooh, easy breezy, then try for 15 seconds, then try for 20 seconds, then try for 30. See how we just keep increasing? So the way that we can build on this is our narrow stance, is we can do what's called a tandem stance. So you can take one foot and cross it in front of the other. Now ideally we're going heel to toe, but if you need to kind of space it out, so Ezra's doing the true tandem stance. If I wanted to modify tandem stance, I could bring one foot forward, so I'm like on a tightrope, but I don't have to be crossed over. That's our modification. Yeah. And then again, if that's too easy, close one eye or close both eyes.
Is anybody wobbling besides me?
A lot of people are. You're not alone. And honestly, this is also strengthening some of those stabilizer muscles around the ankle, around the knee, even the hips. So some of that wobbling you're feeling is like your muscles working to keep
That's
you
what
up.
Patrick says. I have his class every day.
I'm so glad Patrick and I are on the same page. That's good. That's good.
Yeah, he tells me that every day.
The muscles are working, I promise. I promise. Okay, so let's pause from the tandem. Another thing we want to do is strengthen the muscles right around our shins, the front here. And the way that we do that, Ezra's going to show you, and then I'm going to offer you the option to do it at your station or to go back and kind of have the railing because we're going to be walking with this. It's called a heel walk. So you're going to shift onto your heels, let the toes lift.
I don't like this one.
Do you want me to demo it?
No, I just want you guys to know you're not alone.
Yeah, you're not, like, you don't have to like it.
You just have to do it. Hashtag Nike.
Okay, so you're going to take 4 steps forward and then see if you can do 4 steps back.
Step back.
Yeah.
Yeah! So if you notice your body starting to lean forward or kind of shift side to side, I highly, highly encourage you to go to the railing. I can go with someone. Let's get this completely out of the way. And then try it. Yeah, 4 steps forward, 4 steps back. Does it help if you keep a small bend in the knee instead of walking out? Yeah. So really think about tall chest, and then if it feels safe, look straight ahead instead of down at your feet. We'll do a couple more rounds, and then we're going to stay at the bar. We're going to change it.
There you go.
My little penguins. Okay, so when you're ready for a change, that's our heel walk. We also want to strengthen the muscles back here, the calves, so we can turn it into a toe walk. And if you've spent a lot of time in high heels in your life, this might be easier for you. So you're going to do nice and high on your toes, about 4 steps forward. You can hold the railing, and then 4 steps back. And then things we want to think about here is making sure that we press into the big toes so we're not rolling onto the outer toes, keeping all 10 toes pointing straight ahead. We all feeling safe? Yes, and so try to stay up on the toes the entirety of the 4 steps. Don't let them drop in between. We'll do a few more rounds. Woo! Alright, go ahead and relax. We're going to do one more thing at the bar. Yeah, one more thing at the bar. So we did that tandem stance. We're going to add on to that. So face either direction you want. You're going to find that tandem stance, heel to toe, and then visualize a tightrope in front of you. And you're going to do heel forward, onto the toes, or slightly away, but we're still in that narrow stance. Heel forward, so we're doing 4 steps forward, heel to toe. And then if you want to go back, you can, or if you want to walk back normally, you can. That's okay.
No, go back. Step back. Back, back.
So if you want that railing, face the side of the room still. And so again, this is something that you can practice in your house, next to the counter, while you're cooking, or while you're doing whatever you do with your life. And then if you want to progress this, then yeah, you do the same thing backwards, and you try to look straight ahead the whole time. And it's okay, like if your body wobbles a little bit, as long as you can stay upright and not fall.
While I'm doing this, am I supposed to be holding my accordion or squeezing my butt or what am I supposed to be doing? Just,
Focus on tall posture,
okay?
and then just staying stable. If you want to focus on engaging your core, that slight tuck of the tailbone, slight pulling of the belly button, you can.
Okay.
That's kind of like a progression almost.
Okay, okay.
Sometimes we just gotta like focus on getting from point A to point B. And I respect that. Alright, we'll do one more round of those. We're looking good. And then when you're ready, you can all come back to your chairs. And what we're gonna do is called hurdle practice. So I have blocks out for everyone. We're gonna set the block on the floor, kind of next to the chair where you could step over it and hold the chair like a railing. If anyone needs help with that setup. If you're practicing this, in the facility or at your own home, it doesn't have to be a block. It can literally be like a tissue box, anything tangible that you have to step over. That's what we want.
Your grandchild?
Hey, who am I to stop you? It's your house. Live your best life.
He wouldn't play still, but I can try.
So you're going to be facing the side. See how Ezra has the block in front of her toes? So what you want to practice is chair to the side.
Mommy.
And then we want to think about clearing the block. So lifting your foot high enough that you can step all the way over before you shift, and then move the opposite foot. Does that make sense to everyone? We want to think almost like a march. Knee and foot come a little higher. Yes, there we go. And then ways to progress this, make the obstacle taller. So that block can flip. It has 3 different heights. So as we're showing you the medium height now, our friend in the front has the tallest height. Let's go, girl. Let's go. You got this. Yes, big step. Clear the knee, clear the foot. Another way to progress this is to make this wider. So obviously you want, not too wide that you're going to trip yourself up. But if you wanted to step over the entire Les Mills step, that's a wider option as well. And then, my friend in the purple, she's progressing by walking backwards over the step too. And that's going to challenge sensing where your body is in space. Good. How are you feeling with this one? Any questions about these?
No,
Just practice. Do these exercises that we've all just done, do these feel like things that you could implement into your home activities or daily workout routine? That's what we want. And so at the end, Ezra and I are going to be handing out little handouts with just a few of the things that we covered, not all of them. It was a lot to fit, but a few options for you to kind of take out into the world with you. We are going to show you one more thing, and this is where I really want to emphasize. If you don't feel safe coming up from the floor, this is something that you can watch and just kind of get the movement pattern in your brain from listening to us. But if you would like to practice step by step, let's say I'm laying on the floor, how do I get my body up? How do I think through that? If that's something you'd like to practice, that's the last thing we are going to demonstrate. And so if you'd like to be on the floor, you can be. I'm going to change the slide real quick. Perfect. So if you don't want to be completely flat, you can start in a seat. But Ezra's going to show you from completely flat, because let's say hypothetically we did have a fall. Can I start to get that motor program in my brain so that I know what to do in that situation, or I can at least try to get myself out of that situation? So if we're starting from flat, your step number 1 is to bring your knees into your chest. Bend them in. Then you are going to roll to the side like we're going into fetal pose. So if you're familiar with yoga, that's where my brain goes. Now whatever arm is on top, you're going to start to push through that top arm, hand flat on the floor, to bring yourself chest up. Now you're on your hip. And then can you roll into tabletop? Knees under hips, hands under shoulders. Beautiful. Yes. From tabletop, this does require some core strength. We want to bring one knee forward under the chest so that you can step the foot through. Now we're in a half kneel. Now the nice thing about having the chairs nearby is you can start to hold on to the chair for support if you need it, because this is kind of low for your hands. You're either gonna take your hand towards your front thigh or towards the chair to your side. And then as much as we want to push into our hand, I want you to think about driving through that front foot. Tuck the back toes, push through the front leg to stand yourself up. And that's okay. And that's okay. Because you can practice with a chair at home, and then the more you strengthen those muscles, maybe one day you won't need a chair. Maybe. Did that feel safe? Have any of you thought through how to get up from the floor before? Is that kind of what you do, or do you do something different?
Absolutely, we can.
We can do it as many times as you need to.
It's one of my favorite things to demonstrate.
So if you'd like to practice again, I'm just going to demonstrate. I'm going to walk through it again. All right, so we are flat on our backs. We're relaxing. We're sunbathing. Now we have to get up. Go see the grandkids. You're going to bring your knees into your chest. And then you're going to roll to the side, either side, into fetal pose. If you have one arm that's stronger than the other, I encourage you to roll to the side where the stronger arm lands on top. You're going to place that arm onto the floor and start to push in so you can bring your chest up. Now we're partially seated. And then roll into tabletop. Knees under hips, hands under shoulders. Then you're going to bring one knee under the chest so you can clear the foot and step the foot through.
It helps if you can get up into a tall kneel. This might be easier for you.
That's an option as well, actually. Good point.
Then you want to bring your foot forward. You want to be holding on to something. If you have anything to hold on to, that's very
Do you want to
important.
try stepping one foot forward from the kneel?
From here, without touching.
It's up to you.
You're using a big strong push from your leg.
Nice. Yeah, and then so you're going to push through the front leg. Use your hands as needed. You can move this hand right onto your thigh. I'm here. I gotcha.
There we go.
Hey, and then step the back foot forward. Look at that. She said, look, no hands. Practice. Anyone need to see it one more time?
No.
I would like to emphasize whatever feels best for your body. That's how you're going to want to practice it. We can give you instructions all we want, but if it doesn't feel good for you, then you're not going to want to do it. If you ever fall and you're trying to stand back up, so just focus on what feels good in your body.
Now, I failed at one of the exercise classes. Well, I don't know how I turned, but everybody's trying to help me. But I had to turn so I could get on the chair, push myself up from the chair. But I don't know how I turned when I was laying there.
Yeah, and that's a really good point, because then when we're in that moment, our body's kind of in fight or flight mode. And so you're not thinking oh, how do I, what's step one, what's step two, how do I get up? And so the importance of practicing this is so that you don't have to sit there and panic and think through oh my goodness, what do I do? We kind of get you heard that term muscle memory. So if we can kind of get that muscle memory of okay, this is how I practice getting up from the floor. So this is what I'm gonna try. Hopefully it's a little easier if, God forbid, that happens again.
See, they were trying to pull me up. I said, no, I have to turn over. So some way, I don't know how I turned over, but I know I turned over.
But you did it.
And pushed myself up on the chair.
Yeah.
Your body knows.
Yeah. Yeah, at a certain point too, especially when we're talking about balance training, I do encourage people to do affirmations, and I think it sounds a little cheesy, but I think it's helpful. If you tell yourself while you're doing balance training, I trust my body, I have noticed with clients and I have noticed with myself, just that mentality helps a little bit. And so I'm not saying you have to do it, you don't have to be all ooh, yogi, but it is something to just try and see how it feels.
I will do it.
Yeah, or even if you practice rolling in bed, rolling side to side, because that is part of that skill of oh, if I'm flat on the floor, hypothetically, if you can roll yourself in bed, that's part of that skill set. And then being okay, I trust my body, I know I can handle this, I know I can do this. Or even practice rolling to the side in bed, pushing through that top arm to get yourself to a seated position. So even if you can't get all the way down to the floor, there's still ways that you can practice this at home. Any other questions or any other like anecdotes that you want to share? I like this interaction.
Well, I have had one knee replacement already, so there's metal in there. It hurts to kneel on the metal.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. That's, I would say, like, if you have a really, really padded surface that you can practice on, that's the most ideal situation. But, I mean, kind of at the end of the day, like, if, you know, if you're...
It was a panic, I could do it, but...
Yeah, I was gonna say, like,
comfortable to do it.
it's not gonna feel great, but, like, can you do it is the whole purpose of this. Yeah. Yeah, I'm sorry to hear that. You're not alone.
I'm not too.
Oh, I would ask also if you go to like physical therapy for that, I would ask if they have any ideas of like, okay, this is what I want to practice, just, you know, for prevention wise. Is there something I can do to kind of mitigate that pain? They might have some ideas also. Just a thought. Never hurts to ask. Anything else you wanted to add?
No, we covered a lot.
We did. Give yourself a little pat on the back. I say like a little hair flip. Be proud of yourself for trying maybe something new.
Yes, everyone did so good today.
So just some resources. I'm gonna hit the lights one more time so you can see this. Because let's say like, oh well, I don't want to practice this on my own at home. Here's some resources that you can use to get more information about this topic or to get more practice with these exercises. So I know a lot of you, I recognize your faces or I've heard some stories, are involved with Silver Sneakers classes here. So that is a great way to keep your body moving. Even if you're not working on the specific things that we talked about today, just keeping the joints limber, keeping the muscles working. Like highly encourage that. We have classes I think every weekday at 11. And then some days of the week at 2 p.m. If you want to go past Silver Sneakers or add on to that, just in this facility specifically, we do have a variety of group exercise classes that you can go to. We have classes that focus on core strengthening. Okay, that's really important when we're talking about posture or the ability to like press ourselves up into higher positions from the floor. You need your core for almost everything.
Your core is not just your abs, it's also your back.
Like, think like the core of an apple. It's not just one side, it's all the way around. We also have total body strengthening classes. Yoga is great if we're trying to work on that flexibility goal for our active aging fitness program, you know, X amount of days per week. We also have cycling classes, cardiovascular like dance classes. So there's a lot of options for you to touch on, not just the fall prevention stuff that we talked about, but the overall senior fitness programming. If you ever wanted to learn more about the machines out on the floor, I love the machines for strengthening, especially with like active aging, because it isolates the muscle and takes away that like need for stability. So a lot of them are seated. You can focus on like just strengthening the muscles one at a time, and you don't have to worry about your balance. Yes, you still want to work on your balance in some way, but if you're worried about like, well, if I work on this on my own, what if I fall while I'm by myself? Those machines are an option too. And then if you ever wanted to work with a personal trainer, that is something that like you have this person's attention all on you. They write you a very individualized program based on your goal and your needs, and then they can help you out making sure that you're moving correctly with all of that. So those are the YMCA resources. And then online,
a lot of the resources that we've used to gather this information today came from the CDC STEADY initiative. This stands for Stopping Elderly Accidents, Deaths, and Injuries. So, yes, it's very lovely to have you all here today. Thank you all for coming. I hope that you all practice and feel good in your bodies.
you all know I work here, so if you want to just like check in with me every now and then, I got you. Let me know, like.
I've been taking the 11 o'clock class,
Mm-hmm.
and the other one at 2 o'clock.
Yeah.
Is that too much?
No.
That's
If
what-
you,
that's
I mean,
what
if
I
you
thought.
feel like you have the energy to do that,
Well, I'd like to let's go right to the 2 o'clock and then 1 o'clock, and just, I can't go. I have to go.
I know, I don't think we have the 1 o'clock class right now, but yeah, no, if